Hello there, Nat Edwards and Riley Beveridge with you. We'll be keeping it simple thanks to AHM Health Insurance as we take you inside the Queensland hub. Now, West Coast and Fremantle have both touched down on the Gold Coast. Riley, and the Royal Pines Resort is their home for the next month. We have exclusive pictures of their hub, and it's a really fascinating situation they find themselves in, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They'll be there for the next 4 weeks, obviously playing games, all of them in Queensland. Clubs will come up to Queensland to play them. They'll meet both of the Queensland sides in Brisbane and Gold Coast. They'll play the majority of their games at Metricon Stadium. West Coast obviously trained at Metricon Stadium, having touched down in Gold Coast on Wednesday night. Adelaide and Port Adelaide, we know they'll join them in the hubs after round 2. They've got to get that showdown off and running first on Sunday night this week. But yeah, can't wait to see how they handle it. Both from an off-field perspective, but also on-field. So how they manage to go in terms of playing their games at Gold Coast, playing their games at Metricon Stadium. We know West Coast have that huge crunch game against Richmond up there at a neutral venue. So how they manage to navigate these next 4 weeks will be fascinating, and it will say, I think, certainly in West Coast's perspective, it'll have a big implication on whether or not they can win the flag.
So let's take an in-depth look inside the hub. They're stuck there at this resort, the two teams, but they are separated.
They're on different levels. They've got levels to themselves within the hub. It's interesting some of the things they've got within the hub. So they've got an area where they can play PlayStation and chat with each other. There's a barista located there so they can get their coffees. There's obviously gym facilities. There's aquatic facilities for them to use within the hub. We know they can't play golf. We know they can't go surfing. That's some restrictions.
That's a shame.
It is. But they've got a lot of things to keep them occupied. So we saw Fremantle's truck, the pictures of Fremantle's truck going over to Gold Coast last week, and it had all the guitars and the PlayStations and everything going into that for the players to look after themselves and to keep them busy throughout that period. It's also interesting to note they've got cars so they can go for drives. 2 per car, I think it is in the end. So they're allowed to go over there and do a bit of cruising around town, but they're not allowed to go and socialise and mingle with the Gold Coast public, the lovely people of Gold Coast up there, and they're not allowed to do that. They've got to keep to themselves, still under the strict social distancing measures.
They were also allowed to bring some family members to the hub if they wanted to. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, West Coast have 3 players that have brought family members up. Tom Hickey, Tim Kelly and Liam Ryan have done that. Fremantle only has 3 or 4 players, I think, that have kids themselves. So it's interesting to note that no one at Fremantle has brought their families up yet. However, the Dockers did say late last week and over the weekend that they might do that later in the piece, so maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the hub if they're forced to stay there for longer because it's extended and you still can't fly in and out of Western Australia, then family members might come over. And it's the same for staff members. So staff members like coaches, assistant coaches, footy bosses, they might have their families come over at some stage as well. So that's all interesting to note going forward, not just now.
Now, just in case you missed it and you've been living under a rock somewhere, let's just quickly recap what the new season is going to look like, or the season resumption in terms of quarters and games. So shortened quarters. Yeah,
16-minute quarters. There was a bit of talk around interchange benches being increased. That hasn't happened, so still 4 on the bench. Obviously, 16 games to go. It's only going to be a 17-game season in terms of the home and away season, but we did have that round 1 game, which seems like an
finals
eternity
as normal.
ago. Finals as normal. That'll be a 4-week final series. Not 100% sure on the grand final day yet. It's slated for late October, but Gil McLaughlin said that because of the teams in the hub, we might have a bye somewhere in the season. Maybe it's a pre-finals bye, maybe it's a mid-season bye. So the grand final might not fall until the first week of November. We're not sure about that just yet. And the fixture, obviously we've only got a 4-week block in terms of the fixture at the moment. The next block of games, that 4-game run, will be released after round 3. So about 2 weeks time.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And good news, because some crowds are actually being allowed into games from this weekend. So from round 2 up in Sydney, and also the Showdown are going to have some fans as well, which is great news.
Yeah, they'll have a couple of thousand there, which is great. At the Showdown, there'll also be a couple of hundred, I think, in the City Games this weekend. So really good news there. I know Queensland was pushing for it, couldn't get that over the line. Not sure when that'll be introduced. Hopefully we'll have crowds back at every venue across Australia at some stage this season, because I mean, I know watching round one, I know there's going to be broadcast noise this weekend, but round one, it was a very eerie sort of feeling, having no crowds there and being able to hear the players and the echo off the grandstand. So having crowds there, can't wait to be back there myself. I know you can't as well to watch your Hawks. So really keen to just have footy back in our lives and hopefully be attending games very soon.
Well, cannot wait for the footy to kick off. And there you have it, footy made simple thanks to AHM Health Insurance. Make sure you keep clicking back to afl.com.au and the AFL Live official app for all of your footy news as we restart season 2020.